Hi, everyone. Welcome to the third episode of 21st Century Morocco, where Gary and I raise questions about the future of Morocco and discuss issues related to Morocco in an attempt to understand this future. In this episode, in the second episode, we talked about English as a second language. We entertained that possibility. And if you haven't seen that episode, you can go to our channel on YouTube. In this episode, we're going to interview Ali Anthony Bell, who's written a book called Improve Your English, Change Your Life. So first of all, Gary, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. I always enjoy doing these podcasts, so that makes my day a little bit more special.
Great. Ali, welcome to this interview. Thank you for accepting our invitation.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so I'll ask you, Ali, to introduce yourself for the public and tell us a little bit about your book and whom you wrote it for.
Okay, I'm an American expat. I've been living in Morocco for a little more than 10 years. Before that, I did 26 years in France. I'm fluent in French. I translate from French to English, and I'm a writer. I'm an author as well. So what I like to say, introducing myself, is that I believe in every person's potential to develop in any field. This has become my reason and purpose in life, is to help individuals to improve their communication skills, especially specifically in English. And in this way, to help Morocco and to help the rest of the world. Okay, my most recent book, Improve Your English, Change Your Life, is a self-help book for speakers of other languages to help them improve their English without traditional methods, or without going through a language school okay. And in doing so, in improving their English, improve their probability of personal and professional success. So in this book, I set the level at pre-intermediate, and I sent it out to 15 or 16 beta readers who are all pre-intermediate to check the level to make sure that it wasn't too high. So I've written it at a very easy level to understand, because I want to help the maximum number of people, right?
Why do you think that it's so important for Moroccans to learn? You talk about motivating, you talk about this is like your life's work. Why are you so dedicated to this? Why is it so important for Moroccans individually to learn English?
Okay, well, English is the lingua franca. It is the language of international communication. And in order for Morocco to participate in the dialogue, of the global dialogue, and change things, and to be a part of that dialogue, and to face the challenges which the world is facing, English is the only language that can do that. So as long as Morocco does not embrace English and adopt English, they cannot be a part of that dialogue. Also, for example, Morocco has the ambition to be the link between Africa and the rest of the world. This cannot happen without the English language, obviously.
Yeah. Okay, so the situation in Morocco. French is still dominates business, education, and so forth. And you've just said that the only way for Moroccans, or for Morocco, to participate in what's happening in the world and be a force that connects Africa with the rest of the world, French is still dominant. So why do you think this is?
Okay, so why does Morocco hold on to French? Morocco obviously does not make English learning a priority, because of the very strong political, economic, and cultural influence and ties that France has with not only Morocco, but the other French-speaking African countries, Algeria, Tunisia. It's not in France's interest for these countries to speak English. They don't want it to happen. They have a double policy. They want their students in France to learn English, but they do not want the people in French-speaking countries to adopt English. They don't want it. I've worked in French private schools, and I know that the French government puts pressure on these schools to push English down and to prioritize French. I was in a situation where even, for example, we had English Language Week, and then all of a sudden it wasn't English Language Week anymore, it was Language Week. Instead of English Language Week, right? So, right. So I think the solution here is not to try to make English replace French in the system. That will not work. That will never work for several reasons. The first is obviously the government will never adopt that solution just because of the pressure from France. Even if they see that to their advantage. There are too many economic and political reasons behind this. They will not adopt that solution. So it's not realistic. Secondly, I don't think that English, I wrote an article back in 2016, why Morocco is vital why the English language is vital for the future of Morocco. This is in Morocco World News about 4 years ago. And nothing has changed then. And I said at the time that while I believe that English should be emphasized, I really do not believe that it should replace French as a second language. We don't have to replace one language with another. One reason, you will create communication gaps between the generations. This has already happened in Morocco. We've already had a situation where we changed the school systems all of a sudden, and there were tons of people who could not go to school because the language changed in the school. We don't want to see this happening again, okay? And we don't want to create communication gaps between the generations. Now, many studies have shown that young children can learn up to 5 languages simultaneously. Why should we replace one language with another? Children can very easily learn Arabic and French and English all together at the same time, simultaneously in school. And okay, so I've made some suggestions. Yeah.
Sorry. So all I was going to say was that they're not learning English, though. I know that they want to learn English, but they're not really learning English to the level that they want to. Well, you know, we could argue whether they need to replace the language or not, but I think we can all agree that English is not being taught at the level in which people want it to be taught. Exactly. So what can Moroccans do, and what should Moroccans do to encourage the government to be more embracing of the English language?
Well, this is just what I was getting at, is that instead of a lot of people are really focusing on, I see a lot of comments like this, throw out trash French and put English. You know, I've seen a lot of comments and things like this on the podcast that we did last week, which I shared, as people saying, oh, throw out the French. No. That's not the right way. If you want to put pressure on the government, you have to pressure them to something which is realistic. We need to emphasize English, but not throw out French. But we do need to emphasize English, and they're not doing it. English needs to be taught starting at a very young age, when children soak up the language. When they can soak up, my child, I have a 4-year-old child. He speaks Arabic, he speaks French, he speaks English, because we speak to him in the 3 languages. A child will soak it up. They don't need to, it's not extra work. When I was working in French private school, I was forbidden to give written homework or written assignments to my children, to my students. They said that it would interfere with the French learning and the spelling and grammar of the French, because it's not the same, it's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
Well,
it was just
what do you think the people should do? I mean, should they protest in the streets saying we demand more English? Or
especially not everyone can do like you're doing, teach their children 3 languages at home.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, this is one reason I wrote this book. I think it's for the people to take things into their hands and to learn English themselves. And this is possible. We maybe the government will change, maybe it won't. But I also wrote that it's not, we can't rely on the government to change something. We have to change it and take it into our hands ourselves. And it's
I
up to
agree.
the people. It's up to the people just to start learning English. And a lot of people are. A lot of young people are just learning English on their own. And that's what I see as a solution. When enough people embrace English, things will change by themselves. You don't need to pressure the government.
Totally. But there is an issue. For example, if we talk about universities, I am for replacing French with English in universities because students have to write papers in English, and unless you change the whole educational system from French to English, they will still not be able to write, even if they learn English by themselves, because the English, that they're using is academic English. I think English needs to be replaced in certain areas like education and business, because otherwise, there is no point in asking people to learn English by themselves. They have to use it.
I think it's happening anyway. The people, even when I wrote my article back into 2016, I mentioned a survey that had been done on Moroccan people, and at that time, and things I've gotten a lot it's even worse now, but at that time, something like 80% of Moroccans said that English should be the second language instead of French. Even so, the people are aware. The people are aware that it's for the good of the country. And I do believe that, yes, a lot more emphasis should be put on English, but like I said, at a very early age as well, because once you get, if you wait until students are in high school or in university to emphasize English, you're not going to do it. Where language learning happens is at an early age. Yes. It becomes an effort to learn a language afterwards. So if we start now with Generation Z and Generation A, which are very young now, then when they get to university age, Morocco will be English speaking in one generation, right?
Okay, Gary, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I do. So if you say that it's already happening, and you worry about the generational gap that is happening, and it happened in Syria in the 1980s when they went over to English too. Isn't there an argument that we should encourage the government to be more proactive in teaching English? Because then they can create English classes for adults. They can find other ways of making it easier for the older generation to learn English. And so that gap is reduced. I doubt it would be eliminated, but it would be reduced.
Yes, I can see your point, and I agree. But at the same time, it comes back to not pushing the government to replace French with English. That's the big point. We shouldn't try to replace one language with another. Every language, French is part of not only, it's part of the cultural fabric here in Morocco, as much as Arab and Amazigh. And we're not going to throw out Amazigh, we're not going to throw out Arabic, and why would we want to throw out French as well? It's part of the cultural fabric of this country. And so every language gives you new opportunities. Why throw out one language for another when you can learn several?
Yeah,
do you think, sorry, I was just going to ask, do you think then that English will eventually just naturally supersede French? And if so, when do you think that will be?
I think it will become more important, but I don't think it will happen before at least a generation. And it will only happen if we start teaching people at a very young age, when they learn naturally, like my son, who's 4 years old. Okay, this is when children soak up the language, when they don't have to make an effort to learn it. It's very hard I'm 60 years old myself, and I've been here in Morocco for more than 10 years, and I still don't speak classical Arabic. I think that's for me, that's, I'm not proud of that, okay? Because I think I should be speaking Arabic at, at this time. I've been a little bit lazy because I speak French. I'm very fluent in French. And so I fall back on French when I can't use Arabic, okay? But it is difficult for an adult to learn compared to a young child. It's a whole different process. Of course, you can't, it's not true that you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Brain plasticity has shown us that it is possible for even an old man, 60 like me, to learn a new language. Yeah, you can do it. It's just, it takes effort. It takes a lot of effort. Whereas with a young child, it doesn't take effort.
So even for example, when you consider that, a huge number, whoever you meet, any Moroccan you meet and you ask them whether they want to learn English, they say yes. And a lot of people enroll in classes and do individual efforts. Even considering this, you don't think English should be replaced? And sorry, French should be replaced. And when I talk about replacing English, French, sorry, I mean replacing a work, replacing it at the university, and not replacing English or taking French away from the linguistic landscape in Morocco, because that's not realistic. That will not happen.
That will not happen. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. You cannot take one language away and replace it with another. We can say maybe that English should supersede and should become more of a priority than French. This is what we're talking about.
That's exactly what I mean when I say replace English with French. So I mean practically. The next question is, how do you think language schools in Morocco should adapt to the new needs of Moroccans?
Okay, obviously, a lot of things are changing. Most schools this year were thrown into an upheaval with what has happened with the lockdowns, and most of them adapted by starting to use distance learning. This is something, blended learning was already being used by a lot of schools, and it's a very good method, blended learning, where you have part-time online and part-time in class. It's a very good system. I think this type of thing should continue. Whether or not, obviously, we hope the lockdown all the situation will change and we'll get back to normal. Hopefully we won't go back to normal and we'll go to something better. But this has forced us to change a little bit. What I think should be happening is that the best way we learn languages is by learning through content learning and through task-based learning. What we need to be focusing on with the future generations is learning skills that will help them to cope with their future challenges, problem solving, critical thinking, etc. And also, obviously, English. But they can learn English at the same time that they're learning problem solving and critical thinking and any subject matter, content-based learning, which means this is something we need to be doing. When you go you shouldn't just take an English class in school, but all the schools should be using English also to teach content matter, so that the students are ready in their academics to face the challenges in English that they will have to face when they have to write essays in English, and when they get into their professional life and they have to write in English. They will be prepared, right?
Okay.
So I think that by 2020, I disagree with you with what's going to happen, because I think by, in last week's podcast we predicted by 2027 that Morocco will actually move over to English. But whether they do that officially with an exact date, or whether it's more progressive, which what I understand you seem to be suggesting, what do you think that shift to English will do to the country of Morocco and to the individual Moroccans themselves? What opportunities will it give? And also, what change of thought process will that give?
Obviously, every language has has its different ways of thinking. And when you learn a new language, it opens up many new doors. It opens up new ways of thinking because you don't think in one language as you think in another language. Each language even has, for example, there's a lot more responsibility in English. You say when you say something like I broke something. Okay, I broke my arm. That's impossible to say in Arabic. You don't say I broke my arm. You know, it means you took it and you broke it. You know, okay. So there's a lot more personal responsibility in English. There are many different things like this. But I think that on people usually keep their identity even when they change to a new language or when they learn a new language. If you're learning several languages at the same time, if you're multilingual, then that it opens up new ideas and new concepts which you didn't have before. But it doesn't necessarily change the fundamental ideas that you have in your culture. Okay, we have very strong fundamental ideas here in Morocco, which I do not think will be radically changed by the fact that people are learning a new language. It will open up to new concepts and new ideas, of course, because every language has its way of thinking. When this is as a teacher, when I'm teaching and I see someone, because I'm fluent in French, I can tell right away when someone is translating directly in their head from French to English because they're thinking in French and they're speaking in English. And this is obvious to me. For someone who's multilingual, I'm sure Ezzoubeir, the same thing is for you when you hear someone who's translating from Arabic into English and they're thinking in Arabic, speaking in English. This is obvious to you, because we think differently in different languages. But this isn't. This is only a plus. What it does is it opens new doors. It makes new possibilities. It makes us see the world in different ways. But I don't think it fundamentally changes the ideas and the beliefs that we have as a part of our culture.
And economically, what differences do you think having?
The only way forward. It's the only way forward. If Morocco does not embrace the English language, it will not move forward. It will not achieve its ambition of being the link between Africa and the rest of the world. It won't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I would totally agree.
Me too.
So it's the way forward. That's I think everyone agrees, and the Moroccan people know this. They know that. They know it.
What's your view on the 2027 timeline that I put?
I think it's a little bit short. I would love to see it happen. Sure. If we could make it in 2027, that would be incredible. I'll root for it. Let's try to make it happen.
That's what I'm doing here in Morocco. I'm pushing English.
Yeah, I think it's a bit optimistic. Yeah. Actually, I think it's a bit optimistic, especially since, in fact, a lot of people don't have the financial means even to educate themselves normally.
Now talking about this issue, like there are a lot of opportunities out there online for people to study English for free. They can download books. They can.
But what about people who don't have access to internet?
But those are very few in Morocco, don't you think?
What about in the countryside?
Yeah,
there was a whole issue about this when there was a lockdown and everyone said, oh, no problem because our kids can do from home. But all these kids out in the country, they don't have the internet at home.
Yeah, but still, only 12% of Moroccans speak French, and French is still the second language. So if you just concentrate on the people on people in the cities, I think that will change the whole situation.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Okay, Gary, do you want to end this podcast?
I think it's gone very well. Actually, I think it's been very insightful hearing alternative views to what we were talking about last week, and also views that enhance what we. So very enjoyable, very interesting.
Great. So, Ali, one last question. If people want to purchase your new book, where do they go?
Okay, my new book is online. It's available at most ebook retailers, with the exception of Amazon. I've always opted out of Amazon for ethical reasons. That is the greed of Jeff Bezos. The day that Jeff Bezos decides to do something for the world with his colossal wealth, then I will sell and buy through Amazon. It's just a personal decision. So you can't find my books at Amazon, don't look, but you can get them in Kindle if you want from Smashwords. So Smashwords is my distributor, my publisher, and they distribute to all of the major retailers. So I opted out of Amazon. If you just Google Ali Anthony Bell, okay, the book is Improve Your English, Change Your Life. You can find it easily. If you look even in Google images, you'll see a little orange book with blue writing on it. And yeah, okay.
Yes, and the release date is
28th. It's in 1 week exactly, or well, actually, so it's in Friday the 28th. You can already download 20% for free, and you can pre-order the book so that it will be invoiced and sent to you as soon as at the release date, which is Friday the 28th. Okay.
Great. So, Ali, it's been really nice interviewing you about your book today. Thank you again for accepting our invitation, Gary.
Yeah, it's like I say, it's been really insightful and really enjoyable. I should maybe add that my books are available on Amazon, but there you go.
Okay. So
we'll
talk about them in other podcasts, yeah?
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, it was great. It was great meeting you, Ali. I really enjoyed it.
Okay, me too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.